On Friday, the UN General Assembly passed a resolution calling for a peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine. It was approved by 142 countries, including China, Iran, Myanmar, Russia, and Sudan. No doubt, the Tibetans, the Kurds, the Rohingyas, the Ukrainians, and the Darfuris will be glad to learn that those five governments believe in self-determination, in human rights, and in international law. This is the UN in a nutshell. An organization that was established by the Allies to prevent a return to the might is right policies of the 1930s and that has been hijacked by autocracies to fight the free world with its own concepts and tools. But let's look at the resolution. It endorses the so-called New York Declaration published jointly by France and Saudi Arabia in July. The declaration condemns Hamas for the October 7 massacres, but it also condemns Israel for responding to those massacres. A typical example of the UN's moral equivalence, in that case, between atrocities perpetrated against civilians by jihadists with genocidal intent and a democracy fighting those jihadists to defeat them and to get back its hostages while respecting the restrictions of international law. The resolution says that Israel must end the war and that Hamas must abandon power and lay down its arms. But those two statements are self-contradictory because only the Israeli army can bring about the defeat and the capitulation of Hamas. Hamas is not going to give up power and its weapons just because a UN General Assembly resolution says so. The declaration says Hamas must transfer power and weapons to the Palestinian Authority, or PA. Yeah, right. In 2007, Hamas took over the PA regime in Gaza by force. By what logic would it now return it to the PA? The New York Declaration also says that the state of Palestine will be demilitarized and democratic. Seriously, the same way that the Gaza Strip and the West Bank are demilitarized, right? Under Hamas, the Gaza Strip had become a huge military complex built by Iran and funded by Qatar. The fate of the West Bank would have been identical if Israel had withdrawn from it, and it will become identical if Israel were to withdraw from it. As for democracy, the PA was established 30 years ago, and it has never been democratic. Why would that change with full statehood? There are 21 Arab states today. None of them is democratic. By what logic would a 22nd Arab state led by the PLO be democratic? And finally, the New York Declaration endorses General Assembly Resolution 194 from 1948, which the PLO sees as the legal basis for the so-called right of return. The PLO rejected the peace proposals of Ehud Barak in July 2000, of Bill Clinton in December 2000, of Ehud Olmert in September 2008, and of John Kerry in February 2014, precisely because those proposals did not include the application of the right of return to Israel itself. Because what the PLO means by the two-state solution is the end of Israel by establishing an armed state in the West Bank and Gaza, and by flooding Israel with millions of Arabs who claim descent from the refugees of 1948. This is exactly what the PLO decided in the phased plan adopted in Cairo in 1974, and this is what Arafat meant to do when he signed the Oslo agreements 3 decades ago. And so when French Foreign Minister Jean-Noel Barrot says that Friday's vote at the General Assembly constitutes a defeat for Hamas, he's being the PLO's dupe, because the PLO shares Hamas's endgame. It is just that the PLO's strategy is one of phases, and that it is a master at hiding its endgame behind international law, justice, and peace. We in Israel will no longer be fooled by this charade. The game is over. We shall not enable the PLO to establish a 22nd failed, violent, and autocratic Arab state in our heartland, not least because the only purpose of such a state has always been, and always will be, to free Palestine from the river to the sea.